What is your compass reading, Powers? I don't know where we are.
Then all of a sudden, it turned off its communications and basically went dark.
How can you lose a jetliner? How can it vanish in thin air?
The fact that the signal disappeared, that was the unusual element. The fact that 90-degree turn to the left, basically on a southwestern heading, and disappeared into the vast.
There are skies where planes can mysteriously dissolve into nothingness. From the mysterious disappearance of a bomber plane carrying nuclear weapons to a vanishing plane carrying diamonds, diplomatic pouches, and the flight that gave birth to the legendary tales of the Bermuda Triangle, and most importantly, a plane that vanished for 35 years and suddenly landed with 92 skeleton on board, bringing speculation and conspiracy. This video will explore 15 unsettling stories of vanished flight. 15. The missing nukes of the Cold War era. One such chilling story is the disappearance of a U.S. Air Force Boeing B-47 Stratojet during the Cold War era. On March 10, 1956, the aircraft, laden with 2 capsules of nuclear weapons material, disappeared on a top-secret mission from MacDill Air Force Base in Florida to Ben Guerir Air Base in Morocco. The Mediterranean swallowed the plane whole, leaving behind the unanswered question of where its nuclear payload went. The B-47, a sleek 6-engine jet bomber, was the backbone of the United States nuclear deterrent during the 1950s. On that fateful day, the plane embarked on a routine flight scheduled to make 2 aerial refuelings before reaching its destination. The first refueling went smoothly, but during the second, somewhere over the Mediterranean, the tanker aircraft lost contact with the B-47. The bomber, along with its crew of 3 and its nuclear cargo, disappeared from radar screens, never to be seen again. In the weeks and months following the disappearance of the B-47 bomber, an extensive search operation was launched, involving ships, submarines, and aircraft from multiple nations. The United States, anxious to recover its missing nuclear material, spared no effort in scouring the vast expanse of the Mediterranean. However, despite their best efforts, no trace of the B-47 or its crew was ever found. The exact fate of the aircraft and its dreadful cargo remains a mystery to this day. 14. The disappearance of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. Another chilling case is the disappearance of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 on March 8, 2014, which took the lives of 239 people. The Boeing 777, en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, vanished over the South China Sea, approximately 120 nautical miles east of the Malay Peninsula. Despite an extensive multinational search effort covering an area of 46,333 square miles, only a few pieces of debris were found washing up on the shores of the Indian Ocean. The main wreckage, along with the aircraft's black boxes, has never been recovered, leaving the fate of the plane and its occupants shrouded in mystery. Numerous theories abound, including sudden depressurization, deliberate diversion by a rogue pilot or hijackers, and even supernatural or alien explanations. However, without concrete evidence from the aircraft's wreckage and flight recorders, the truth behind the disappearance of Flight 370 remains elusive. 13. Flight 19. Bermuda Triangle, a loosely defined region of the Atlantic Ocean, has long been associated with strange and unexplained disappearances. However, it was the vanishing of Flight 19 that truly cemented the area's notoriety. On December 5, 1945, a squadron of 5 U.S. Navy TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, carrying a total of 14 crew members, embarked on a routine training mission from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Tragically, the planes and their occupants never returned, sparking an enduring mystery. The flight, led by experienced pilot Lieutenant Charles Taylor, soon encountered a series of perplexing navigational issues. Radio transmissions revealed the growing confusion and disorientation of the crew, as they reported malfunctioning compasses and uncertainty about their location. Despite the base's efforts to guide them back, the planes continued to fly aimlessly, with the crew's distress calls becoming increasingly desperate. The last communication, received around 7:04 p.m., indicated the planes were low on fuel and the crew was preparing to ditch in the ocean. After this final, chilling message, the planes vanished from radar, never to be seen again. A massive search and rescue operation was immediately launched, involving hundreds of ships and aircraft scouring the vast expanse of the Atlantic. However, despite the exhaustive efforts, no trace of the missing planes or their crew was ever found. The disappearance of Flight 19 became a global obsession, sparking countless theories and speculations about the mysterious forces at work in the Bermuda Triangle. 12. Helios Airways Flight 522. On August 14, 2005, Helios Airways Flight 522, a Boeing 737 carrying 115 passengers and 6 crew members, departed from Larnaca, Cyprus, bound for Athens, Greece. What was supposed to be a routine flight soon spiraled into a catastrophic series of events. As the plane climbed to its cruising altitude of 34,000 feet, a series of alarming problems began to emerge. The cabin pressure warning system activated, alerting the pilots to a potential loss of cabin pressure. However, due to a critical miscommunication, the pilots mistakenly believed the warning was a false alarm related to a previous issue with the aircraft's door seal. This fatal error would have devastating consequences. As the plane continued its ascent, the cabin pressure rapidly dropped, causing the oxygen masks to deploy automatically. Tragically, the pilots, still unaware of the severity of the situation, failed to put on their own masks and soon succumbed to hypoxia, a lack of oxygen. The aircraft, now essentially operating without a crew, continued to fly on autopilot, with the unconscious passengers and crew members helpless as it drifted through the skies. 2 Greek fighter jets were dispatched to intercept the unresponsive plane, and what they witnessed was a chilling scene. Peering into the cockpit, the fighter pilots saw the captain's seat empty and the co-pilot slumped over the controls, his oxygen mask unused. In a desperate last-ditch effort, a flight attendant named Andreas Proyas managed to remain conscious using portable oxygen and entered the cockpit. Despite his lack of experience flying a Boeing 737, he successfully maneuvered the plane away from Athens and towards a rural area. Tragically, as the engines ran out of fuel, the plane crashed into a hillside near Gramatiko, Greece, resulting in the loss of all lives on board. 11. Egypt Airflight 990, a perplexing mystery. The crash of Egypt Airflight 990 on October 31, 1999 remains one of the most puzzling and controversial aviation disasters. The Boeing 767, carrying 217 passengers and crew, plunged into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Nantucket, Massachusetts, leaving no survivors and a trail of unanswered questions that continue to haunt investigators and the public alike. The divergent conclusions reached by the Egyptian Civil Aviation Agency, ECAA, and the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, have only served to deepen the mystery surrounding this tragic event. According to the NTSB's investigation, the evidence pointed to a deliberate act by the Relief First Officer, Gamil Albatuti, as the primary cause of the crash. The cockpit voice recorder captured Albatuti repeatedly saying an Arabic phrase that translates to "I rely on God," as he allegedly disengaged the autopilot and pushed the plane into a steep dive. The NTSB concluded that Albatuti's actions were deliberate and suggested he may have been motivated by personal or emotional issues. However, the ECAA vehemently disputed the NTSB's findings, instead attributing the crash to a mechanical failure in the aircraft's elevator control system. Egyptian authorities argued that the evidence was inconclusive and that the NTSB's conclusions were based on cultural misunderstandings and a lack of respect for Islamic religious expressions. The conflicting conclusions reached by the two agencies have fueled speculation and conspiracy theories, with some alleging a cover-up by either the Egyptian or U.S. governments. The presence of high-ranking Egyptian military officials on board the flight has led some to suggest that the crash may have been an act of terrorism or sabotage, though no concrete evidence has been found to support such claims. 10. The mysterious disappearance of Stardust. Deep within the grandeur of the Andes Mountains, another aviation mystery unfolded: the disappearance of British South American Airways Flight CS59, known as Stardust. On August 2, 1947, the AO Lancastrian airliner embarked on a routine flight from Buenos Aires, Argentina to Santiago, Chile, but it would never reach its destination. The aircraft had 6 passengers and 5 crew members, including a king's messenger carrying confidential diplomatic documents and a Chilean-Palestinian man rumored to have concealed a precious diamond. As the Stardust flew across the rugged terrain of the Andes at an altitude of 24,000 feet, something went terribly wrong. Minutes before the estimated arrival time, Santiago Airport received a cryptic Morse code message from the Stardust. A single word, Stendek, the meaning of which would baffle investigators for years. Shortly after, the plane disappeared from radar screens and was never heard from again. It wasn't until 1998, an astonishing 51 years after the disappearance, that the wreckage of the long-lost airliner was discovered by a group of Argentine mountaineers climbing the remote Tupungato Glacier. However, the aircraft's precious cargo, including diplomatic pouches and the rumored diamond, has never been found. The discovery of the wreckage brought closure to the families of the lost, but it did little to unravel the enduring mystery of the cryptic Stendek message. 9. The disappearance of the Lady Be Good. In 1943, during World War II, a U.S. Army Air Force's B-24D Liberator bomber, known as the Lady Be Good, took off from Salak Airfield in Libya for its first combat mission, tasked with bombing the port city of Naples, Italy. However, as the plane flew over the Mediterranean, it vanished without a trace, leaving no clues as to its fate. For 15 years, the disappearance of the Lady Be Good remained a mystery, with no wreckage or signs of the crew ever being found. It wasn't until 1958 that a British oil exploration team stumbled upon the bomber's remains deep in the Libyan desert, approximately 400 miles south of Salak Airfield. The discovery of the Lady Be Good raised more questions than answers. The plane's wreckage was found broken into 2 pieces, yet remarkably preserved by the dry desert climate. Investigators were puzzled as to how the plane had ended up so far off course and why the crew had apparently abandoned the aircraft. The crew's remains were found scattered in the desert, some as far as 80 miles from the crash site, suggesting that they had survived the initial impact and attempted to walk to safety. However, no parachutes were found, indicating that they had not attempted to bail out of the aircraft. The body of one of the air gunners was never found, leaving his ultimate fate a mystery. 8. The Pan Am Flight 7. In 1957, Pan Am Flight 7, a luxurious Boeing 377 Stratocruiser known as the Romance of the Skies, was part of Pan Am's round-the-world service, offering opulent amenities and attracting celebrity clientele. However, on November 8th, during a flight from San Francisco to Honolulu, the iconic plane vanished without a trace over the Pacific Ocean, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and sinister theories. As investigators delved into the disappearance, they uncovered a web of suspicious circumstances surrounding the ill-fated flight. One of the most intriguing aspects involved a passenger named William Harrison Payne, who had purchased a last-minute one-way ticket and a substantial life insurance policy just before the flight. Another suspicious figure was the Pan Am financier, Eugene Meyer, who had a contentious relationship with the airline and stood to gain financially from the aircraft's loss. Some theorize that Meyer may have orchestrated the plane's disappearance as part of an elaborate insurance fraud scheme or an act of revenge against the airline. Despite an extensive search operation covering over 200,000 square miles of ocean, no trace of the aircraft or its occupants was ever found. The absence of wreckage and the suspicious circumstances surrounding Payne and Meyer have fueled speculation that Flight 7 may have been the victim of sabotage or a carefully plotted criminal conspiracy. 7. The tragic crash of Aer Lingus Flight 712. On March 24, 1968, tragedy struck Aer Lingus Flight 712, a Vickers Viscount aircraft operating a routine flight from Cork to London. The plane plummeted into the sea near Tusker Rock off the coast of County Wexford, Ireland, claiming the lives of all 61 passengers and crew aboard. The sudden and inexplicable nature of the crash, coupled with a series of puzzling circumstances surrounding the investigation, has fueled speculation and conspiracy theories for decades. As the aircraft approached Tusker Rock, the pilots sent a distress message to air traffic control, indicating that they were experiencing difficulties. However, the exact nature of the problem remains unknown, as the transmission was abruptly cut off. Eyewitnesses on a nearby fishing vessel reported seeing the plane descending rapidly before vanishing from sight and crashing into the sea. The impact was so violent that the aircraft disintegrated upon contact with the water, scattering debris and bodies across a wide area. A massive search and recovery operation was launched, but the challenging conditions of the Irish Sea hampered the efforts. While most of the wreckage and human remains were eventually recovered, the exact cause of the crash remained elusive. The official investigation conducted by the Irish Department of Transport and Power concluded that the most likely cause was a collision with a flock of seabirds, which may have severely damaged the aircraft's engines and caused a catastrophic loss of control. However, this explanation failed to satisfy many observers, who pointed to inconsistencies and gaps in the evidence. Some speculated that the plane may have been brought down by a terrorist bomb, while others suggested that it could have been accidentally shot down by a British military aircraft or missile. These theories were fueled by the tense political climate of the time and the proximity of the crash site to a British weapons testing range. 6. The enduring mystery of Amelia Earhart's disappearance. On July 2, 1937, Amelia Earhart, one of the most iconic figures in aviation history, and her navigator Fred Noonan embarked on a daring attempt to circumnavigate the globe. As they neared the end of their epic flight, their Lockheed Electra aircraft vanished without a trace, sparking a mystery that has confounded investigators and fueled countless theories for generations. Earhart, a trailblazing aviator who had already achieved numerous records and accolades, was no stranger to the perils of long-distance flight. However, the challenges posed by the Pacific leg of her journey, particularly the treacherous and poorly mapped expanse between Papua New Guinea and Howland Island, would prove to be her greatest test. As Earhart and Noonan approached Howland Island, where they were to refuel, a series of radio transmissions revealed the mounting difficulties they faced, with Earhart reporting unfavorable weather conditions and dwindling fuel. Despite the best efforts of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca, which had been stationed at Howland Island to assist Earhart, the Electra never arrived at its intended destination. In the days and weeks that followed, an extensive search operation was launched, scouring the vast expanse of the Pacific for any sign of the missing aviators, but no trace of Earhart, Noonan, or their plane was ever found. In the decades since Earhart's disappearance, countless theories have emerged, each seeking to explain the fate of the intrepid aviators. Some believe that Earhart and Noonan, running low on fuel, may have crash-landed on the uninhabited Gardner Island, now known as Nikumaroro, where they eventually perished. Others suggest that they may have been captured by the Japanese, who were expanding their influence in the Pacific at the time. More outlandish theories proposed that Earhart survived and assumed a new identity, living out her days in obscurity. So now is time for today's subscriber pick. The mysterious reappearance of Santiago Flight 513. In 1989, the tabloid weekly World News reported a strange aviation mystery. They claimed that a commercial airliner, Santiago Flight 513, which had vanished without a trace in 1954 with 88 passengers and 4 crew members on board, had suddenly reappeared 35 years later. According to the tabloid, the plane landed flawlessly at Porto Alegre's airport, shocking air traffic controllers. Upon investigation, authorities were met with the gruesome sight of 92 skeletons, the remains of the passengers and crew, still strapped in their seats. The pilot's skeleton reportedly still gripped the controls, and the engine was running despite the plane's impossible reappearance. However, it's important to note that the weekly World News was notorious for its sensationalism and fabricated stories. The claims about Santiago Flight 513 should be viewed with a critical eye, as they are likely more fiction than fact. 5. The mystery of Varig Flight 967. The disappearance of Varig Flight 967, a Boeing 707 cargo plane operated by the Brazilian airline Varig, remains a perplexing mystery. On January 30th, 1979, the aircraft, carrying a valuable cargo of paintings by renowned Japanese-Brazilian artist Manabu Mabe, vanished without a trace over the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean during a routine flight from Tokyo to Los Angeles. The fate of the plane and its 6 crew members is unknown, and the incident has become a subject of intense speculation and intrigue. Just 30 minutes after takeoff from Tokyo's Narita International Airport, Flight 967 lost radio contact with air traffic controllers, and its transponder signal abruptly ceased. Despite extensive search and rescue efforts by Japanese and American authorities, no trace of the aircraft or its occupants was ever found. The complete absence of debris or wreckage, coupled with the mysterious nature of the plane's disappearance, has fueled a host of theories and conjectures about the fate of Flight 967. One of the most intriguing aspects of the case revolves around the valuable cargo the plane was transporting, the 53 paintings by Manabu Mabe, collectively valued at over $1.2 million. This has led some to speculate that the plane's disappearance may have been connected to a sophisticated art heist or insurance fraud scheme. Others have suggested that the highly experienced crew, led by Captain Gilberto Araújo da Silva, may have deliberately diverted the plane for their own nefarious purposes. However, these theories are countered by the lack of evidence and the improbability of executing such a complex plan without leaving any traces. Alternative explanations point to the possibility of catastrophic mechanical failure, a severe weather event, or even an encounter with a rogue wave that could have caused the plane to crash into the ocean without warning. The enigma of Varig Flight 967 is further compounded by the fact that Captain Da Silva had previously been involved in another mysterious aviation incident in 1973, while piloting a Boeing 707 in Paris, France, which resulted in the deaths of 123 people. The recurrence of misfortune under his command has led some to question whether there may have been a more sinister force at play. 4. Douglas C54. The vast wilderness of Alaska, a land of untamed beauty and untold dangers, served as the backdrop for the tragic tale of the disappearing Douglas C54 Skymaster. On board the 4-engine transport plane operated by the U.S. Air Force, which took off from Elmendorf Air Force Base near Anchorage, Alaska, on a routine flight to Great Falls, Montana on January 26, 1950, were 36 passengers and a crew of 8, all eager to embark on the 1,400-mile journey across the rugged terrain of the 49th state. Little did the plane's occupants know that they were about to become the subjects of one of aviation's most perplexing and enduring mysteries, as the Douglas climbed into the crisp, cold Alaskan sky. Somewhere along the flight path, the plane vanished without a trace, with no distress call ever received and no wreckage ever found, despite an extensive search effort involving hundreds of aircraft and ground personnel in the days and weeks that followed. Speculation ran rampant as to the fate of the missing plane and its 44 souls, with some suggesting the Douglas had fallen victim to the treacherous weather conditions that often plague the Alaskan skies, while others proposed more sinister theories hinting at sabotage or even supernatural intervention. As the search effort stretched into months, hope began to fade for the families of the missing, as the unforgiving Alaskan wilderness, with its vast expanses of rugged mountains, dense forests, and frozen tundra, seemed to have swallowed the plane whole, leaving no trace of its passengers. 3. The Flying Tiger Line Flight 739. The disappearance of Flying Tiger Line Flight 739 stands as a tragic and perplexing chapter in the annals of military aviation. Chartered by the United States Army to transport 93 American soldiers and 3 South Vietnamese from Travis Air Force Base in California to Saigon, South Vietnam, the Lockheed Super Constellation was supposed to be a routine transport mission on March 16, 1962. However, as the plane winged its way across the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, something went terribly wrong. Approximately 1,800 miles west of Guam, the plane sent its last radio transmission, indicating that all was well, but shortly after, a tanker ship in the area reported seeing a bright flash in the sky, followed by the appearance of 2 fireballs that descended into the ocean, suggesting the flight may have suffered a catastrophic mid-air explosion. Though the exact cause remains a mystery to this day, in the wake of the disappearance, a massive search and rescue operation was launched, involving ships, aircraft, and submarines from the U.S. military. Despite scouring an area of over 144,000 square miles, no trace of the plane, its crew, or its passengers was ever found. For the families of the missing, the absence of closure is an enduring wound, compounded by the fact that the names of the lost soldiers have not been added to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., as their remains were never recovered. 2. Canadian Pacific Airlines Flight 355. Douglas DC-4 carrying 37 passengers and crew departed Vancouver, Canada, bound for Tokyo, Japan, with a planned stopover in Anchorage, Alaska, on July 21, 1951, as Canadian Pacific Airlines Flight 3505 embarked on a seemingly routine journey. However, the unforgiving Alaskan wilderness had other plans, as the aircraft vanished without a trace, leaving behind a chilling mystery that continues to lurk within its vast expanse. As the Douglas DC-4 made its way over the rugged, snow-capped peaks of the Alaskan Range, the experienced crew, led by Captain Victor Fox, maintained regular radio contact with ground stations. Yet, approximately 90 minutes after departing Anchorage, the plane suddenly fell silent, its final position placing it somewhere over the remote and inhospitable Suna Valley. Despite an extensive search and rescue operation that lasted for months and covered thousands of square miles, no trace of the aircraft or its occupants was ever found. 1. The Villa de Paris balloon. In Cuba, there's a phrase called "Volo com Matias Perez," which means "fly away like Matias Perez." It's not a positive phrase, as it refers to someone you know disappearing, never to be seen again. This saying originates from a mysterious aviation incident that occurred on June 28, 1856, which is widely regarded as the first aviation mystery. On that fateful day, Matias Perez, a Cuban-born aeronaut, embarked on a daring ascent from Havana, Cuba, in a balloon named Villa de Paris. As the grand spectacle unfolded before the eyes of an awestruck crowd, Perez gracefully rose into the sky, his balloon drifting westward toward the horizon. Unbeknownst to the onlookers, this would be the last time they would witness the intrepid balloonist and his aerial vessel, as the Villa de Paris balloon disappeared into the distance. A growing sense of unease enveloped the city, as hours turned into days and days into weeks with no word from Perez or any indication of his whereabouts. Search parties were organized, combing the Cuban countryside and the surrounding waters for any trace of the missing aeronaut. But despite their thorough efforts, no evidence of Perez or his balloon was ever discovered. The disappearance of the Villa de Paris balloon captivated the nation, giving rise to numerous theories and speculations about the fate of the ill-fated aeronaut. Thank you very much for watching the video. Please take a moment to like the video and share it with your friends. Additionally, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon to ensure you don't miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again for your time and attention.